I am perplexed. I am astounded. I bought the DLC. Nintendo has kind of been going through it recently, with the Switch 2 discourse turning into an absolute PR nightmare for the company. From prices, to boycotts, to baffling marketing decisions, it's been a hell of a time for them, so it was probably a sigh of relief to them when they released Donkey Kong Bonanza, to almost universal praise from critics and fans alike. And to be clear, that praise is more than well deserved. Bonanza is a clear successor to Mario Odyssey, taking the base formula from that game and evolving it to a point that's entirely original. The game avoids the typical collectathon fatigue by having such tightly built sandboxes. Of all of Nintendo's big 3D platformers, I've never seen one do it this good. I am not kidding when I say this is one of the best Nintendo platformers. Hell, it's one of the best 3D platformers in general, and that's a list that includes Sonic Forces. I swear, this release has been the only good press Nintendo has gotten recently, with many wishing that this game was a launch title instead of Mario Kart World. Bonanza fits the role of that must-have game, something you can only get on a Nintendo platform. Things were finally looking up for Nintendo. Then they did this, a $20 DLC only 2 months after the game came out, bringing the full package to $90. And while I don't think the DLC is cut content or even necessary at all, just why? Here's a good question for you. What would you do during a PR crisis about anti-consumer practices? Great idea! So this was announced during the last Nintendo Direct and released on that same day. Remember, this same Direct also featured a Pokemon ZA $30 DLC, releasing the day the game comes out, and the $100 Virtual Boy. It all just came across as extremely tone-deaf. While so much of the Switch 2 hate has been over-the-top engagement bait, I mean, you have whole channels dedicated to nothing but talking about it. There is a real problem with Nintendo's communication strategy, if you can even call it that. For example, Mario Kart World was finally updated to fix many of the major problems the community brought up. More guaranteed 3-lane races, trackable stats in the open world, easier ways to unlock characters, just a generally positive update that answered so many things that people wanted, and they couldn't even tweet about it. And this is the same company that had to let us know that Miyamoto was really enjoying his Five Guys burger. Thank God. The point of all this, dropping an overpriced DLC on an already acclaimed game probably wasn't a good move right now. If the DLC was expansive enough, I could understand charging a near third of the game for it, but what's offered in the DK Island and Emerald Rush pack just is not. Full stop, there is no way to justify this price. But to be completely honest, the actual content there isn't too bad. The DLC is broken up into two different parts, being the DK Island portion and the new roguelike mode, Emerald Rush. DK Island is exactly what it sounds like, being a 3D version of DK Island from Donkey Kong Country. I never realized he was a gooner. The layer is available after beating the main game, but it isn't really something I'd call post-game content or even cut content like some people are saying. DK Island is like big. Really big, with interconnecting pathways that lead to a myriad of references and callbacks to Donkey Kong Country. You can really tell there was a lot of love put into this layer. This design is nowhere close to an afterthought, and that would all be great if there was anything to do here. While the layouts are so intricate, there is virtually nothing to gain from exploring. No bananas, no fossils, no sub-layers, not even a new getaway bed, which would have been perfect. The game tries to justify this by letting us know that golden roots have appeared, making this a gold mine. There are technically 6 gold minigames to find, though they are reused entirely from the normal game, so our only incentive to exploring this entire layer is gold. Welcome back, New Super Mario Bros. 2. I can kinda see the actual idea here, given the post-game content, like the boss rush, does require a lot of gold to unlock, but this just feels cheap for one half of a $20 DLC. By the time I got here, I already had over 100,000 gold. Mind you, this is unlocked directly after the Planet Core layer, which has more gold than anywhere in the entire game. And sure, not everyone is going to dump the time I did in my initial playthrough to getting gold, but the reward being something already found elsewhere is just shallow at best. Even if they didn't want to use bananas, which I do understand for like not throwing off the skill tree, there still could have been some kind of unique collectible to DK Island that could have made it more interesting. So what is the point of all this intricate level design? Well, here comes Emerald Rush. Emerald Rush is a roguelike mode where you work for Void Kong, trying to meet a quota every round to proceed to the next one. While it does become available on multiple layers, this was clearly made for DK Island. Once you start, all gold on the the island is replaced with emerald, while fossils and bananas are added to collect. The bananas allow you to regain Bonanza powers and skill tree upgrades, while the fossils give modifiers classic roguelike style. For example, some modifiers allow you to get more emeralds when smashing through terrain, or increase the amount when using your Bonanza powers. The placement of the bananas and fossils drive me crazy, because this should have just been on the island in the first place. Finally, the flow of the island makes perfect sense, but only in these short bursts. Different objectives will also continually appear to get more emeralds, and honestly, they're not very deep. It's mostly just fighting enemies or breaking rocks for some reason. There are some cool ones, like turf surfing over a certain distance or high-fiving specific characters, but then you have ones like use a zipline or use a barrel blast, and I'm like, is this what they call fun? On the whole, the mode is actually still pretty fun and has more depth the higher difficulty you choose. The early rounds are mainly set up to get abilities and make sure you can keep up with the quota, while filling out important different parts of the skill tree. DK Island is definitely the easiest, given it was made with the mode in mind, while the others are much harder. As you finish matches, you upgrade your employee punch card, giving you more fossil modifiers, outfits, more layers to play on, and some Banandian chips. So unlike DK Island, you actually have an incentive to play this mode with things that are unique to it. The biggest pitfall here is honestly just fatigue. It is a good time, but these matches on the higher difficulty could take like 30 minutes. If it wasn't for this video, I would not have played nearly as much as I did, because it really is time consuming. The issue here really isn't a lack of content for the mode, it just doesn't feel too replayable, which is a central pillar of a roguelike. I imagine most people are going to play this a couple times and maybe pick it up a little later. I really don't see this mode having longevity. Again, the content really is not bad, I just don't see how this could possibly be worth $20 at all. $10 is the most that I think could even maybe make sense for this. That said, I've seen a lot of people comparing this to Luigi's Balloon World from Mario Odyssey, asking what happened to the good Nintendo who gave us that amazing mode for free. Are we being serious right now? This is the same company that charged $60 for 1-2 Switch. Luigi's Balloon World was the most bare-bones minigame possible that offered no rewards and incentives outside of coins or leaderboard hopping. It was fantastic that it was free, but it also lacked the depth of Emerald Rush and legitimately was an afterthought, just made to make the endgame coin grind a little better. DK Island also isn't really comparable to Peach's Castle. I get the impulse to compare considering both are nostalgic locations that appear at the end, but in Odyssey, that was the postgame. Bonanza already has a robust postgame on top of a fully complete main offering. I genuinely don't think you need to buy this DLC to get the full Bonanza experience in the same way that not including Peach's Castle would have been for Odyssey. That doesn't mean this isn't greedy though. I legitimately do not recommend buying this for $20. So yeah, to wrap up, it's really not bad content-wise, but there are much better things you could spend $20 on. Like this.